Hey, one awesome community. Here we are. Let's rock and roll. This is episode 304. Who's pushing your buttons? But before we get started, I wanted to remind you that Send Out Cards is rocking it. This is backwards if you're looking at the video, but they are rocking it. So if you haven't yet checked out my Send Out Card site, go to heycardlady.com. That is what makes my podcast all possible. Okay, done with the commercials. Let's move on. So I'm not used to getting dressed up, at least from the waist up, for my podcast, but I am diligently applying what has been requested of me, and that is to do a video of me doing my show. So I'm adjusting the camera a bit because, okay, I'm not doing this regularly, so I'm getting used to this. But today and yesterday, some things came about that made me ask, who's pushing your buttons? I think we've all had someone in our life that has literally rubbed us the wrong way. They know exactly what buttons to push to get us aggravated. They know exactly what sarcasm to sprinkle across our day to get us like, well, what was that about? Why did you say that? Do you not like me? Do you not want me around? What's the deal? So it comes down to one of the things that I heard about yesterday was someone saying something that suddenly upset the other person. And then later that person came back and like, well, I didn't mean to do that. But yet they did. Now, I've known people that have done that kind of behavior and then go like, well, no, but yet they did really mean it. And, like Ellen DeGeneres says, and a lot of people I've heard lately say, just be nice, be kind. Don't say something that you know beforehand is not going to be comfortable to that person. I really riled my granddaughter up this weekend when I went to see her. I did not mean to, but I'm on notice now what not to say. She is an RN, very qualified, a specialist, what have you, and she's got her first child, my great-grandbaby. And she worried about her baby having a little bit of fever, gave her some Tylenol, and then she pulled out some allergy stuff that's all natural, and I simply asked a simple question, does that also have Tylenol in it? Because, there's a certain level of dosage that sometimes you can give in medicine along with the actual thing. I was curious. Oh, my goodness. She made me feel like, because she thought I was questioning her judgment, and I really wasn't. So now I know how sensitive that is for her. So I have to not ask questions of curiosity that might make it sound like I really question her expertise or her knowledge, and that wasn't it at all. So sometimes we do it without meaning to do it, but those people that know, especially at a job, that was the subject that came up today. How do you deal with people at work that have treated you like you're not there anymore because they're mad at you, but you don't know why? So what do? Do you listen to the rumor mill and somebody says, yeah, they're mad at you, blah, blah, blah? Do you listen and let that eat at you? Or do you go to the source and say, can we have a conversation here? Because I heard that I hurt your feelings. That was not my intention. And guess what? It was such a mending thing because it was a misunderstanding. And so by going to the source and addressing it right there, it confined it. It didn't expand it. But if you don't talk it out and you just swallow your feelings, then it builds and it builds. And that person then just takes great delight in pushing that button because now they realize you may have meant it. You're more vulnerable now. So, hey, let's push them buttons. It's not a nice thing to do. It really, really isn't. In relationships, I used to be a person that would chew on a conversation or an action that was taken. And I would chew on it and distort it and really let this head of steam show up. And the minute I addressed it with that person, whether it had been a day, a week, or maybe a month, it wasn't like that at all. I wasted all that time and energy being unhappy and miserable. The person didn't even know I was unhappy and miserable because I swallowed it. I didn't talk to anybody about it. I was just angry. Again, a misunderstanding. There are people that come into your life for a season that are there definitely just to irritate the living crap out of you. I really believe that. Sometimes those irritants can push you beyond your limits of tolerance, and there's a big blow up. Then there's other times that you get quite a learning lesson from it. There was someone in my life at one point that was so negative. I literally could not tolerate this person in my life. But it was a situation where I couldn't simply step aside. And I finally got an email one day from this person, and it was just nothing but negative, complaining, whining, and I'd had it. Right up to here. Enough is enough. And so I've learned not to answer emails that disturb me right out of the gate. I don't get many, but I learned a long time ago that your emotions and your expressions are not always translated well in an email or an instant message. You don't get that when you send that. You don't get that when you get a text. The verbal communication is not there. So sometimes you can misread it, misinterpret it. If you're in a lousy mood and somebody sends you an email that's perfectly innocent, but you're not in a good place, you can distort that. Oh boy, you can make that nastygram when it really wasn't intended to that. So when this nastygram came through, I sat and I read it and I thought about it and I set it aside and I thought, I just can't deal with this woman anymore. She destroys me. Every time there's an email that comes from her or a phone message, I just shrivel up inside because I know it's going to be some kind of issue with her. And it was almost like she set things in motion to make sure that she was miserable. Let's make sure that I've got something to complain about by instigating something. And this one situation, I just know for sure she set it up so she'd have some real angst to grind with somebody. And so I got this email and I read it and I thought, okay, I'm done. I have had enough. I am removing this person from my life. I have to do it gently, I have to do it diplomatically, but I have to let her understand why. And so I sent her an email and I said, it's very discouraging to me every time I open your email or I get a voice message from you, it's always to complain about something. You throw me under the bus, you throw the company under the bus, you never take responsibility for your action in anything, but are always there to whine and complain and manipulate and want some action done when you've been the instigator of all the problems. Well, she came back and she said, well, you're supposed to be my leader, blah, 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 blah. Okay, so I took another deep breath. I thought, okay, some of the things she said are valid because she'd worn at me. She just kept pushing me. And so she came back and I reread that and I swallowed my pride a little bit and I thought, okay, I'll address the things that she said. And I did. And I said, you're right, I'm a leader, but I said, you have to understand that you are not helping your situation by coming at it this way with me. Here's how you and I can work better together. It resolved things for a while, but that's just who she was. And I avoided her like the plague. And pretty soon, she just sort of disappeared from my horizon because I realized that's just her way of operating. And when you get someone in your life like that, you cannot always just build up a wall between you. You have to address it so that you can walk away knowing that you have done all that you can. But those people come into your life and it's just like sometimes they can't be taken and put in a box. If they're a family member, there's so many of us that have situations that we just can't resolve. And you have to give yourself a break. You have to understand that you are just one person in the equation. And you have to know that you've done all that you can do to not be part of the problem. And so, pushing buttons is an art for some people. And then there's those of us that don't like to push back. We just like to what the heck was that about? Why did you say such a thing? And so we have to take the sensitivity out of a conversation sometimes, because sometimes we're just overly sensitive to people saying certain things or the way they reflect. Some people have a weird sense of humor. Their sense of humor is a sarcastic, cutting kind of humor. I don't get that. I don't respond to that. What it does is put me on edge. I feel like, not that you're picking on me, but I feel like you're maybe picking on me. I mean, it hurts my feelings. And they don't mean it, but that's how they express their humor. I personally like making people laugh at my expense more than anybody else's. And so I have fun that way. So maybe some people don't like my sense of humor. Well, she always making fun of herself. What's the heck with that? Each to their own, right? So I guess my lesson for today is basically, if you've got that person that is pushing your buttons, you have to step outside of the box and try to figure out what's the best way to protect yourself. Because button pushers, they'll move from you to pushing someone else's buttons. Sometimes they're people that like to control things. And they control things by pushing those buttons that they know will upset you. If they don't like you, for whatever reason, they're going to find the things that really, really upset you. And they're going to push and push and push. Because that's what they get their greatest pleasure from, is seeing you miserable when they stir the pot. So you, myself, people that want to do good things and make a difference and be kind, need to stay true to ourselves and not play the game of pushing back on those buttons. Find a way to be a bigger person. Relieve yourself of the situation when you can. Move away from those people. Like there was this one woman that every time I saw her at an event, I was like, oh my God, I don't want to talk to her. And then I just realized, okay, it's not her, it's not you, it's just two different personalities. Say hello and move on. You don't have to play best friends. You don't have to pretend that she's your best bud ever. But you can be cordial and you can be kind and you can be nice, because you just don't really know that person. You know they bother you, but you really don't know them or why they're behaving that way. And if you don't want to step around the corner and have that conversation, why are you like that? Then don't do it. Just move to the part of the room where you like to hang out. We don't need to add stress to our lives by allowing people to push those buttons that just don't benefit any of us. So with that said, I hope this video comes in right side up. I hope I'm looking at the camera, and I hope I get a post-it right to my show notes so that you can have the audio version and the video version. But with that said, I got a boogie right now. Light's going down. Light gets bad in here. You won't even be able to see me. Some of you are saying, well, that won't be so bad. But anyway, I'm passing on a smile to you. And thank you for always listening to me. Appreciate it. I do. Bye-bye.